Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ethan.
And I am Bryan.
And welcome to the Loki Season 1, Episode 5 podcast. Before we begin, we'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel so you can keep up to date with all of our Loki Season 1 review and synopsis podcasts. And make sure to watch Loki, streaming on Disney Plus every Wednesday, before coming here and listening to our podcast, because we're going to be discussing some very spoiler-heavy content within today's episode. So it's very important that you that you actually watch Loki before listening to our coverage. Anything else to say, Bryan?
No. Other than very spoiler heavy, I would highly recommend going back and actually watching the episode because there are a lot of Easter eggs in this.
Yes, and you are very excited to get to them.
You cannot believe how excited I am to talk about this episode.
Alrighty then. So, let's set the premise for today's structure, because this is going to be a little different from our previous Loki episodes. So, if you have been a listener to our Review and Synopsis podcast for a while, including the previous Marvel stuff as well, the formula that we reviewed the stuff in for most of WandaVision was basically we separated the storylines off into their own sections. We would focus on Wanda and Vision and the sitcom universe itself, and then we would transition to what has been going on outside in the sword plot, just so the two scenes don't kind of intermingle with our own coverage as well, even though it does within the show itself, because it's a better structured that way, and it gets more to the point of what we're trying to get at. We broke away from that formula a bit because it was just more convenient to do so with Falcon and Winter Soldier's case and for the beginning parts of this episode. But today we're going to revert back to very old WandaVision coverage, because our characters are separated from one another again. So because of the end of the previous episode, Loki, quote unquote, died. Died and got separated from Sylvie, who's still in the TVA, and then at the post-credit scene explained where Loki had gone to. And so we're going to focus on Loki first and what his shenanigans are up to. Then we're going to get back to Sylvie.
Yep.
And then go on from there.
Woo.
All right. The premise of the video has been set, ladies and gentlemen. Bryan may now begin our coverage.
Alrighty. So, after the whole previously on segment and the Marvel logo and all that wonderful stuff, we start with this wonderfully done shot where we start in the TVA. We follow a man into an upside down camera angle, going into the elevator that led up to the Timekeepers, as it transitions into the Timekeepers lair. We then see the androids as they were left at the end of the last episode, with the head still on the ground and the others deactivated. And then that transitions into the Void, which we will get into the Void later once they start explaining what the Void is in the Sylvie part of this episode. And so during this beautifully done shot, we pass by what looks to be kind of a destroyed, decrepit New York kind of setting, with some buildings, one of which is recognizable, because at the end of the last episode I said that one of the buildings you could see in the background was what looked to be Stark Tower. And it is. Kind of.
Kind of.
It's... in this shot, we get to see the other side of the building, and on the building, we don't see Stark's name or Avengers. We see, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Queng. Or Quengi. I don't remember exactly how it's pronounced. But we see that, and that is a reference to the fact that in one of the comics, Stark actually sold his company to another company called Quengi, or Queng, or whatever it is. And the owner of that company was Kang the Conqueror. Or We're getting so many. I swear, if we get another Mephisto thing where they keep on pointing like hints towards it, and then it's not Kang, I'm gonna be pissed. Because everything in this show is like, it's Kang, guys. It's Kang the Conqueror. I swear. Don't do that. I'm going to march into Marvel myself.
Bryan is hanging on to that bottom rung of the ladder, folks.
I really am. But yeah, so we get our first little Easter egg in there. And so yeah, we then see the cloud. It's like purple cloud of smoke. And we see our Lokis rescue our Loki. And obviously he has questions of what is this place? Who are we? Like, who are you? What's going on? And classic Loki has this amazing response. It's like, this is the Void, that's Eliathan, we're his lunch, come on.
Very, very straight and direct to the point.
Yep. And then they're off. As they head off, we then see what looks to be I want to say like a puma or like a panther's like face appear in the smoke. And then title card. Woo! Now, there would be a Sylvie scene, but we're going to skip that for now.
Exactly.
And we're going to go back into the Void. And then as we pick up back in the Void, we see a decrepit ship, a UFO, all of which that Lokis are passing by. And again, Loki has a lot of questions.
Yeah. And, I'm thinking probably, maybe for simplicity of it, we'll just refer to like all the other variants of Loki as just like their prefix, I guess, like kid, classic, boastful, alligator.
Yes, I was wrong. That I did not realize that alligator Loki was actually going to be a thing.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be like Kid Loki's pet or something.
Well, it kind of is in the context of everything, because out of the three here, you would think the leader would be classic, maybe boastful, right? No. You're wrong. It's Kid.
And we how we kind of figure out that Kid is the leader is one, because classic Loki kind of says it, and two, because he has the most, in my opinion, the most timeline shattering Nexus event.
Right,
which is
like they
Kid
all
Loki. Yeah, sorry.
They all explain how they got there in the first place. And why it's the Lokis that have the biggest curse of all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So are we just referring to our Loki as Loki?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the questions that Loki asks is, why is no one else here? Like, why is it just you guys? And Classic responds with, because we're Lokis. We know how to survive. Which, I mean...
True.
Pretty true. Yeah. I mean, we've seen how many times Loki's died.
Exactly. Just like Infinity War, he survived. Wait a minute.
No. Yeah, you're right. He escaped into an alternate timeline.
Oh, that's why the TVA showed up. Me when the TVA shows up when I meet Robert Downey Jr.
But yeah, they all do eventually explain their Nexus events. Kids gets explained first, and Kid, he killed Thor.
There's no other way of saying that. Just like, and the pure, I don't know how to describe it. Vitriol is not the right word, but just how Kid's actor delivered it was wow. Like, yeah. I think that's what made most Marvel fans like have their jaws drop at that,
because he said it almost proudly, like he was proud that he did it. Because he's a timeline of Loki where he just got fed up with Thor's BS and was like, I'm gonna kill you now.
And then the TVA is like, Wait a minute. You're not supposed to do that. Stop it.
They do eventually calm Loki down and get him to go to their little hideout, hidey hole.
Yeah, I called it the Loki layer in my notes.
The Loki layer. And so yeah, they make their way into the Loki lair, where they've kind of set up their little shop, their little home. And
it's a throne room for Kid.
Yep. And in it, you see a whole bunch of like, it really does just look like trash brought together to make a home. Because there's like parts of like a bowling alley, and like
the throne is made out of candy canes.
Yeah. It's a very interesting set, and I like the craziness of it.
Yeah, and the Easter eggs too, right, Brian?
Oh yes, I'm getting there. There's a Sylvie scene in between that. So there are a couple Easter eggs in this scene. They aren't really like Marvel Easter eggs or anything like that. They're just Easter eggs to our actual own timeline of things that have just gotten forgotten due to time. That this show just pokes fun at it and is like, nope, it just got pruned.
Also a word for the real world, folks.
And so a couple of these things are, behind Classic, there is a arcade cabinet that says Polybius. If you don't know what Polybius is, it was basically it was an arcade game that came out. It was a real arcade game that was released like in the 80s, I want to say. And a entire conspiracy was made around it because one day it just disappeared. Like from every arcade in the country, it just disappeared. It was never seen again, and it just became infamous with all these conspiracy theories around it. Like people saying that it was made for experiments from the government. People claim to have seen like Men in Black around it, things like that. Very interesting stuff. I'm not going to go too much into the history of it because I don't even know the full history of it. I just know the famous
phenomenon with it.
Yeah, the phenomenon with it. And then the other Easter egg that's this one's a little bit more of like a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And it's so as they're sitting down here, explaining like what their fate is, their Nexus events, things like that. They're all drinking. They all have a drink. Boastful, Classic, and Loki are all drinking from chalices that each fit their different styles.
Like Gator. Gator is a kiddie pool.
Yeah, Gator's in a kiddie pool. Loki is drinking from the smallest chalice of the three. Boastful's chalice is like a chalice that you would normally see like royalty drinking from. And then Classics is more of just like a basic kind of chalice. And Kid Loki is drinking High C Ecto Cooler. And if you don't know what High C Ecto Cooler is, then you were born around the same time as us. High C Ecto Cooler was a flavor of High C that was made to promote one or both of the Ghostbusters movies. And if you don't know what the Ghostbusters movies are, well, go educate yourself. Because they are some good movies. And so Ecto Cooler was made to help promote those movies. And then once the movies stopped being made after the second one, Ecto Cooler just disappeared. It's hardly found. You can't really find it in stores. And it just disappeared. High C just didn't sell it. Who knows? Maybe they might bring it back for the next Ghostbusters film. But yeah, and so then they start to talk about their Nexus events. We already found out Kids about how he killed Thor. Boastful. Oh, what did he say? He said, didn't he say that he like just? Oh, that's right. Now I remember. He claims because alligator is like, you're lying, and he's like, no, I'm not.
Gator Loki. He says you're alive.
But boastful, what he did, or what he claims to have done, is he killed Captain America and Iron Man, and presumably Thanos, and got his hands upon all 6 Infinity Stones, and then that's when the TVA showed up. That is what boastful claims.
Ah, yeah. Remember that question I had in the first episode? I was like, who could have had the powers that hold all those paperweights, gang? Oh, it makes sense now.
Yes. Classic tells us that everything in his life was the same as Loki's, where up until the events of Infinity War. When Thanos was supposed to kill him, instead of actually killing him, Classic made an illusion that was so real that it even tricked Thanos, to the point where Thanos actually thought that he had killed Loki. Then Loki, after Thanos and everyone had left, then Classic stole a ship, went to a desolate planet that was where he could live in solitude, and then lived his life there. And then eventually, over time, as he explains that he started to miss people. He missed Thor. He just missed having people around. And so he then one day decided, hey, I'm going to go out and find them. And then as soon as he tried to go find them, the TVA showed up.
Damn those TVA.
Dang it. Always ruining everything.
Has crush on girl has crush back, TVA shows up.
So yeah. Then Loki mentions, I mean, Alligator does have a reason for being there, but it's just...
Do they really say anything about him?
He ate the neighbor's pet.
Ah, I see.
That was Boastful's comeback when Gator called him a liar. Boastful's like, well, at least I didn't eat the neighbor's pet.
That's... Well, why does the TVA have a problem with that? Was he supposed to eat...
Alligator Loki. I mean, what do you expect?
He's an animal. Was he supposed to eat some other neighbor's pet?
Who knows? But yeah. And then Loki starts telling them about. He asks, "Have any of you run into a female version of ourselves?" And all of them are like, "No, it sounds disaster. It sounds terrible." And he's like, "She is."
Based.
And he gets back into like his episode 2 giddiness.
Right.
With like how he was with Mobius. He starts getting back into that giddiness when talking about Sylvie. And so then he tries to go out and find her and defeat, or he also tries to defeat. His plan is to defeat Goliath because he's like, if it lives, it dies. And the other Lokis are like, are you dumb?
Well, like the reason why he wants to do that in the first place, because I guess he senses that there's some sort of key answer within that thing. I've completely forgot the name of it now. Goliath, yeah. Yeah, he believes the answer to discovering what the actual TVA is. Because doesn't Loki tell the others that, like, the timekeepers, they were fake? Did he ever say that at all to them?
I don't think so.
Huh. That might have been important.
Maybe. I think he might bring it up later, but I don't think he mentioned it here.
Okay. But yeah, that might have been important. But anyways, yeah, he thinks the answer to discovering, like getting back to Sylvie and discovering anything about the actual origins of the TVA lies within the Goliath.
Mm-hmm. And so then Loki's off. He climbs back up the ladder to leave the Loki there.
Well, he tried to get the help of the other Lokis there, but they all laughed at him for saying, "Are you joking? That thing's a behemoth."
It's living smoke.
How dumb is this variant of us?
And so then he tries to leave the Loki lair, and then as he leaves, he then sees, well, what we all wanted from the trailer, President Loki.
Not just President Loki, but like every single other Loki.
Yeah, no, every single one of these people is supposed to be an alternate Loki. And I gotta tell you, the picture that I have right now of all the Lokis by each other, it is an interesting image. But yeah, he tries to leave, and then President Loki shows up and is like, "Hello there,
General Kenobi."
And then Sylvie's scene, and then we come back. And so President Loki and his group of Lokis are now in the Loki lair with our Loki just standing off to the side. They have a confrontation.
Yes, and this is where we see like basically every single Loki backstabbing each other for the rights of the throne. The candy cane throne.
Yeah, because we find out that Boastful ratted them out where the location was, and made a deal with President Loki that he would get the throne if Loki left him alone. And then President Loki's like, yes, but I lie. Well, yes, but actually no. And Loki's like, no, that's going to be my throne, you see. And then President Loki's group of Lokis then turns on him. And so everyone just reveals, hey, we were planning to turn against you anyways. All at the same time. And so one big fight scene then breaks out.
How it's initiated is Gator Loki eats off President Loki's hand.
Yep.
I like how they did that too. It's just like President's like,
It's one of those things where like it doesn't affect you until you look down at it.
Right.
But yeah, so this giant fight scene breaks out with all the Lokis fighting each other for the throne. With our Loki just kind of standing there and walking through everything. And I want to say the one part of this fight scene that got the biggest laugh out of me was when one of the Lokis was about to Tarzan his way into our Loki, and then Classic just blasts him out of the air before he can hit him. So yeah,
I think there's like a certain definite theme of like how all these Loki variants are all fallen in the sense that I guess their only glorious purpose that there is to claim a right of a throne.
Yes.
Basically, whilst our Loki and I suppose Classic and Kid right now, because they still join us for the rest of the episode, I think they can sort of realize how stupid this is.
Mm-hmm. Especially Classic. I mean, it makes sense that Classic would be the one to most abandon his glorious purpose of needing a throne, because I mean he spent a majority of his life in solitude.
Yeah.
And so it does make sense that his arc would be that he kind of just outgrew the stupidity of just needing a throne, when in reality all he needed was people to be by him.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
So Classic creates illusions of Kid, Gator, himself, and Loki, so that they can get an escape out of there. And then, to actually add on to your point, Ethan, Classic actually says, as they get out of there, he talks about how they're animals and how they're just stupid for needing that. We're broken, every version of us forever.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of, again, to add on to that point there of how Classic kind of also outgrew this.
Yeah, because like it is, because like he's taking a step back and just seeing everything from the third eye, which is kind of like our Loki is kind of embarrassed by what exactly he is seeing in there. It's like, oh god, this is all me. Why? Oh man, I'm such a bastard.
Yep. And then Kid says, and whenever one of us dares try to fix themselves, they end up here. They just are sent here to die. Again, showing that, I mean, some of these Loki variants probably do want to change. They don't want to be Loki forever. They don't want to be the same kind of person for the rest of time. They want to be able to grow out of their glorious purpose, to find other purpose.
Right. It's getting back to that whole theme, like I said at the very beginning episodes, like the battle between individual agency and choice versus eternal fate. And
fate versus free will. It's a very
exactly
big debate.
Yeah, exactly. And so these three and Sylvie, I think most especially Sylvie, has that feeling of wanting to get out of this certain this fate of fallenness that is predestined for all the Loki variants.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Which is why all the other Loki variants fight over a freaking candy cane throne.
Well, these ones are actually able to escape.
Exactly.
They then set out on their quest to find Sylvie because they have a little bit of a dialogue being like, and you trust her? She's the only one I do trust. Well, alrighty then. They're really just like, well, we have nothing better to do, so.
Right. And so they go off to the, I guess not the border of where the Alliance is, I suppose.
Yeah, and
from afar,
essentially.
Keeping a safe distance within eyesight.
Yeah.
And I don't know where this thing came out of. Like, whatever device Kid has in his hands, I think they just kind of brushed over it. I have no idea what this thing is, but it can summon freaking U.S. battleships.
I don't think that's what summoned it. I don't
really?
think it.
I thought that was the entire point of his device.
Oh, I mean, I thought that the ship was just reset and it just showed up here.
Well, then what the heck is he holding in?
I have no idea.
Because I thought those two were connected. I think they are.
I don't know. I honestly have no idea.
The comment section, please help.
But yeah, so a giant ship called the USS Eldridge, which I have no idea if that's a reference to anything. It sounds like it might be, but I have no idea. Gets summoned, or whatever you would like to say. It just appears, and then Alioth just destroys it. And it looks like Alioth's ability, like the smoke, basically just disintegrates you and whatever it touches.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, because it had some very close-up shots of the sailors on the battleship. And I'm sorry about this. The sailors
I'm firing at it.
They're just like, oh, we're not in the water anymore. What's that thing? Fire!
This is the Void, that's Alioth, and we're his lunch. Let's go. Yeah. And so it looks like it doesn't just look like Alioth disintegrates, but it also looks like Alioth ages, like really fast.
Ages?
Like it not ages in itself, but like anything it touches just ages to dust.
Oh.
Because if you look at the way that it affects the way that I noticed this is that if you really look closely at the sailors and at the boat, the sailors for a split second before they just completely turn to dust, you can actually see their skeletons. Or like pieces of their skeleton, and then the boat itself, the boat just doesn't like turn to dust and disappear. Like everything else, it starts to rust and like grow old and decrepit.
Huh.
So it looks like Alioth doesn't just like zap your dust now. It looks like it just ages you really fast to the point where it looks like it disintegrates you. It is time based, so I mean, if you think of it like that, it does make sense. But again, who truly knows? Maybe I was seeing things.
Okay, maybe. We don't know how it got here in the first place.
Exactly. How reliable of a source are we? But yeah,
Please subscribe.
Loki tries to scramble together a plan on how to actually defeat this thing, and then we start to hear a little vroom, as,
Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong movie.
wrong kind of restaurant.
That's the wrong kind of movie.
You can't out Pizza the Hut. There you go.
Bro, I wrote it down in my notes that it's the Pizza Planet mobile from Toy Story.
But yeah, a car starts to drive its way on up, and they're all like, "What is that?" And Kid and Classic are like, "Oh, they're probably cannibals." Which really makes you wonder, how many cannibals have they had to encounter that drove up to them in order for them to associate cars with cannibals?
I mean, isn't Gator technically a cannibal because he just ate Loki's right hand, president's right hand, rather?
Who knows?
Uh-oh.
But yeah, and so then we see Sylvie. So now let's go back in time. TVA showed up, and now we gotta go back.
The TVA! Oh no! Father leaves for the milk, actually comes back with the milk. TVA arrives.
Whoa. So yeah, let's catch up on all our Sylvie stuff, shall we?
Okay, so we last left off with Sylvie holding a pruning stick up to Ravona's neck. Yes. What happened?
So Sylvie's first scene was right after the title sequence, and Sylvie, we come back to Sylvie, not in the Timekeeper's lair with the pruning stick and everything. We are now in the courtroom that Sylvie was taken to when she was a child. And she has Ravona pinned down on the ground, and Sylvia is asking, like, who's really behind the TVA? Like, do you know? And Ravona's like, I don't know. I'm as in the dark as you are. Okay. And like Sylvie just is like taunting Ravona, basically being like, how does it feel to be on the other side of it? How does it feel to like have your entire reality just like stripped from you? And just basically, it's finally a way for Sylvie to kind of get her revenge on Ravona.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of to like, the reason why it's this place in particular, and the reason why she's enjoying it so much is because Sylvie is just bringing it full circle, finally being able to take it out on Ravona, who brought her here out of her time all those years ago, and now she's finally able to get her revenge. However, she doesn't kill Ravona or prune her or anything like that. Instead, Ravona explains to her how the whole pruning thing works, which is basically this. When you get pruned, you don't die, at least right away. A life is what finishes you off. But when you are pruned, you are sent to the end of time, called the Void, where the branching paths of reality are put into one singular strand, where no alternate realities can start or end. Basically, it's just nowhere and everywhere. It's just there at the end of time, existing. And so,
right, but then like a little bit later, don't they get into this explanation of like, Sylvia has a theory that like even the timekeepers, they're androids, but something is still like assembling the timeline, right? So like this end of time void isn't exactly the end of time. Am I getting that wrong?
You're not getting that completely wrong. You are right, actually. Basically, because I mean, there's still this whole thing. There's still the unanswered question of who created the TVA and who created the timekeepers that were androids.
Right.
Like something had to be behind all of this. And so Sylvie thinks that, well, maybe what we're looking for is in the void. And so that's the whole theory. That's kind of a simplified version of what you were saying.
Okay.
It's just that whoever is behind all of this has to be in the void, if not anywhere else. And so then they then go to Miss Minutes and ask her to look for files. It's basically this entire next scene is just Ravonna asking Miss Minutes to get all the files they have on the beginning of time, the founding of the TVA, and all that stuff. And then Sylvie decides to barge in and asks, "What about the end of time?" And Ravonna's confused as to why she wants to know if it's just the void. And Sylvie makes a good point and is like, well, if the void isn't the end, what if there's something beyond that, you know? This is, again, tying into what you were saying.
Yeah.
And so Ravonna nods her at Miss Minutes that she can look for those files, too. Miss Minutes then finds them. And we then get a little bit of a little bit deeper explanation that we've kind of already talked about from that last segment. So because Sylvie now has all the answers that she needs, she is about to basically prune or kill Ravonna because she's trying to get again to the end, to this void, and Ravonna's really not giving her the answers that she needs. So Miss Minutes tries to barge in and tries to buy Ravonna time by saying that there's this void spaceship. It's a prototype. You'll be fine. And I'm just like, Miss Minutes, you are not a good liar.
Void spaceship. Uh-huh.
Void spacecraft.
Wow.
A spacecraft. The reason, okay, honestly, the reason why I knew that she had to be lying or making this up is because she referred to it as a spacecraft.
Yeah.
And nothing no one in the TVA has ever referred to something as like that kind of technical, like as a spacecraft or anything. Like they've all been like, hey, we're kind of like an office. Like nothing really screams.
I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this isn't an engineering lab. This is the
This is
office.
a detective office.
This is your tax exemption office. What?
You guys literally have cafeteria break rooms. Like, there's no way you guys can design a spaceship.
Okay. But, yeah.
But yeah. So as I kind of ruined, I guess you could say, I put that in quotations. But I mean, basically, Miss Minutes was trying to buy Ravonna time. Because, some Minutemen barged their way on in, and Sylvie then breaks away from Ravonna and hides up in the little, like, I don't know what they're called, but where like the judge would normally sit.
The judge's seat. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, before I forget, when Miss Minutes was trying to search up the files for the end of time and she was struggling to find them, was that also a stalling moment, or was that Miss Minutes
when she was trying to find the spacecraft files? Yes.
But what about the end of time files?
No, because she was actually able to find those.
Oh, okay.
Because we do see a little bit on the void and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then also at this scene they just kind of forget about like the beginning of time files and timekeeper files.
Yeah, no, they didn't show us those because Sylvie wanted the end of time files, but yeah.
Yeah, and make you think, like, I thought the point was, at least right now, trying to figure out the origins of the TVA now, because the timekeepers are bunk.
Yeah, I was too. But then again, it could potentially be that the files that they have could potentially be lies.
Perhaps.
You could make the argument that the files that the TVA has on the founding of the TVA would be the timekeepers created it because that's what they knew.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Okay.
But yeah. Sylvie prunes herself.
Sudoku.
Sylvie prunes herself to go to the void.
Yeah, don't need no spacecraft with that, boys.
Yep.
You can just kill yourself.
She then wakes up in the void, right next to Eliath.
Right, it's like inside the dark clouds, Elias. Scary stuff.
And so, as Eliath is there trying to get her, she just starts running. And again, so the car.
Bro, wait. I'm sorry. I have to say the meme. You know the meme of the guy right next to the tornado that says, "Here it comes."
Oh, yeah.
Sylvie. Elias.
And again, this is another reason why I thought that Eliath would just age things, because if you look at the car that Sylvie appeared in, when Eliath's smoke starts to cover it, it starts to rust.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I figured that it was like time based, that he ages it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Sylvie then parkours her way over this car, and as she does so, she touches a little bit of Eliath's smoke, and in doing so, she's able to see something. And we're gonna get back to that when they get back to that.
Cool. Yeah, because that right there is sort of like a blink and you'll miss it type of thing. Because I had to rewind because I was typing a note on my document when that scene happened. I was like, wait, go back.
But yeah, so Sylvie then hops into a pizza car that Mobius is driving.
It's a Pizza Planet mobile.
And even during this time that they could potentially die, Mobius still has to crack a joke saying you should really be careful about getting into random strangers' cars. And I'm just like, Mobius, just drive. And so yeah, that's how Mobius and Sylvie got together, and that's how the car came to be.
Yeah.
So then we get Sylvie and Mobius in the car. So yeah, so her whole thing is that she thinks that Loki's dead because of Eliath, and she thinks that Eliath is the way that she needs to go, and so that's how they go to find Eliath.
Yeah, and this is where the Sylvie storyline meets up with the Loki storyline again. I almost said the Loki Sylvie line, and I was like, oh no.
We get a Loki and Sylvie reunion. Yay!
They're not dead. Then they kiss and they make out, and then.
And I love that Mobius. I love that Mobius is just so tired of running into just Lokis. Like he literally has this one joke where he's just like, "Wow, you throw a rock out here and you find a Loki." But yeah, and so they then discuss what their plan is going to be, and Loki brings up killing it, and Sylvia's like, "Kill it? Oh God, that was your plan?" And even Classic and Kid are like, I mean, I had my doubts. It was probably going to be unsafe anyways. Again, showing that Loki just he doesn't have the best of plans sometimes.
Yes, and then Sylvie has her plan, and
her plan is to enchant the damn thing. And that's literally how they react too. Like they're just like, "Excuse me, enchant it?"
And you're saying we're dumb for wanting to kill it. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's it's a weird one.
Yep.
And so yeah, Sylvie decides that she wants to enchant it.
So, who's got the dumber idea? Pick your poison.
Yep. And even Mobius, he even looks towards Mobius, and Mobius is like, she's pretty confident. So yeah. Now to break away from this, before the plan really comes into action, we get, I believe this is our last scene in the TVA.
It is a brief scene inside the TVA of Ravonna and B-15. I think the only point of the scene was to give... Yeah, I actually don't know.
Well, to summarize, I don't really know the point of the scene, but I can summarize the scene pretty fast.
Okay.
And the summary of the scene is basically this. B-15 tells Ravonna, hey, Sylvie's going to find it before you, and the reason why is because Sylvie needs it, you just want it. But what you want is to be able to get all your questions answered.
Right, and isn't the origins of the TVA?
Yep, the origins of the TVA, who was behind everything. Basically, who's the master controlling everything?
Okay, yeah. I figured that Ravonna would have, I guess, known something like that, because I don't know if she seemed at all that miffed that the timekeepers that she's been briefing with all of her years have just been robots this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they ever presented like if she was miffed by that at all.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I would have figured like she probably knows stuff that the other variants working there do not, especially seeing as that like she cut the cams off during the C-20 interrogation.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is that Sylvie wants to destroy the TVA while Ravonna wants to keep it going. And how we know this is because right after the interview with the talk with B-15, Ravonna asks Miss Minutes to get all the files on the founding of the TVA and who created it and everything like that, because she needs to find whoever created the TVA because they're in danger. So Ravonna wants to save the TVA, Sylvie wants to destroy it.
I see, gotcha. Alrighty. Well, now that we know that, there's no other points of the scene.
Yep.
And then we transition back to the Void World.
Yeah. So referring to Gator Loki, Classic's like, you really don't remember him? And Mobius is like, I mean, we arrest a lot of Lokis, but no, I don't remember an alligator.
That gets me to thinking, what if the entire point of the TVA was just to arrest every single Loki in the multiverse?
And then Mobius is even like, I don't even think he's a Loki. I mean, who's to say he's not even a Loki variant? And the Classic's just, I mean, he's green, isn't he? That's all it takes. And then Mobius again. I'm saying this entire conversation because this is just a hoot of a conversation. Mobius just is like, I don't know. He could be lying. Like an alligator would lie. The long con, of course. That just is what a Loki would do. So maybe he is a Loki. Maybe. It's always the game within the game with you guys, which I respect.
Exactly. They're all just a bunch of liars and thieves.
Yep. So, I mean, who's to say? Maybe he is lying about being a Loki, but then again, lying about being a Loki would make him even more likely to be a Loki for lying.
What if Mobius is a Loki?
But yeah, we get this little, like, campfire kind of scene, basically, of just them
inside a little hut while shooting the shit.
Yeah. Just kind of asking, and they even ask Mobius, like, why do you want to do this? Like, why are you here? And Mobius said, Mobius wants to get back to the TVA, and the reason why Mobius wants to go back is because he wants to be able to let everyone know, hey, the TVA lied to us. The timekeepers were androids. We're all variants.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, Mobius wants to let them live outside of a lie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his whole thing. And then we cut outside of this little campfire scene where we see Loki and Sylvie having a little romance time.
Loki and Sylvie sitting at a tree. Kissing.
Two friends sitting in a tree.
Yep.
They might kiss.
No.
They might.
No, they won't.
Why did you have to say that?
You're making this really awkward right now.
I told my mom about you.
Your mom?
Yeah, I told.
They have a little romantic-ish scene.
Romantic-ish, because I like how like one of the very first things that they talk about. So like, that Nexus event that happened, that wasn't real, right? Oh yes, definitely, that was not real at all.
Yeah, no, they tried to Loki is obviously in love with Sylvie, and he knows it. But Sylvie is kind of in denial about the whole thing, and so Loki pretends to be in denial about the whole thing. because Loki doesn't want to make it awkward.
Right. Yes.
So, I mean, who knows? They might confess their love to each other. They might not.
Maybe. Okay, since you phrase it like that, I think Loki is dead set on fuck.
With the old devil's tango.
The devil's tango. Okay, so definitely Loki has a romantic interest towards Sylvie. I think Sylvie is still trying to discover that feeling to put into words. Again, this is one of those things where like it's hard to understand the opposite sex to really know what is going on in the context of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have to see how this blossoms out, I suppose, with in the next episode, if anything at all. But it does get more weird / heartwarming during this scene.
It does. Because they do have some nice little like banter-esque moments. I mean, Loki conjures himself a blanket because he's a little cold. And he's like, "Would you like me to conjure you one?" And Sylvia's like, "I mean, you could conjure me a new outfit. Like this is just not comfortable."
I if this were a porno.
When I was watching this, I was like, "Is he actually going to conjure her stuff?" Because he never did.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Like, I wonder why too. I mean, he could.
Maybe that would require. I have to poof up a new suit. Does that mean I have to? Does that require me taking off the old one first? Do I want to do that yet?
Okay, honestly, the other thing that came to my head when I was watching this, other than why didn't he conjure her new clothes, was all I could think about was that one Doctor Who episode. It was a Christmas special, I believe, where the 11th Doctor came to come visit.
Yeah.
I can't remember what her name was, the
Clara.
companion at the time. Clara. And he was completely naked because he like was using the mind thing to make clothes appear.
Merry Christmas, Clara! I'm naked!
Clara!
No, stop. Stop. Don't move. Don't do anything.
Why? What is it? What's wrong?
You're naked.
Yes, I am naked. I wondered if you'd noticed.
Doctor, why are you naked?
Because I'm going to church.
And I think another reason why Sylvie is kind of hesitant is because I don't even think Sylvie truly knows how Loki feels about the whole thing. Because Sylvie says that she didn't really have friends, you know, she didn't really have anyone.
Right.
And so I
Well,
feel like
she was practically stolen at that friend-making age.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that she could potentially be scared to actually admit that she has any feelings towards Loki because she's scared of like him leaving her.
Perhaps.
Again, that's just, I mean, we can't understand these characters fully, and like what they're thinking in every single moment.
Right, yeah.
And so then the end of this little scene has Loki conjure the blanket to be even bigger so that it can wrap around Sylvie as well.
Oh, it's so cute! I said it as a joke!
And Sylvie's like, it's not very snuggly. It's a blanket. Yeah, I mean, who knows? This could be later that day. This could be another day. Who knows when this is?
I don't
know. Time passes here at the Void.
Yeah, it's the end of time, I think. They think,
Yes.
rather.
And so then we get this shot of all 5 of them, technically 6, because, you know, Gator. But we see Loki, Sylvie, Kid, Classic, and Mobius all facing Goliath. And in the background, we can also see Thanos' ship.
You mean the Thanos copter?
Oh, yeah, there was the Thanos copter earlier.
I thought that's what you were referring to. Oh.
No, this is Thanos. This is the ship that it was either Thanos or Ronan, because I think they both used the same ship.
I don't know.
It might be a Kree ship.
Was it the twisty tie one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Ronan's.
Okay, it's Ronan's ship. Which, I mean, if it is supposed to be Ronan, I mean, because I think Thanos' ship was also twisty, wasn't it?
I don't remember. We only got to see it like the post-credit scene of Ragnarok, and that was it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess when it was going through the shrink ray in Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but yeah, I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
if it's
if
a
it's supposed to
twisty
be
timeline,
Ronins, then I mean, you could make the assumption that this is from an alternate timeline where Ronin was able to defeat the Guardians.
oh yeah, perhaps. And then the Thanos copter. What kind of alternate timeline is that? I'm here to take the Infinity Stones.
Some of the bigger Easter eggs that that I forgot to mention, unless some of them haven't come out, because I don't know if Tiny Thor has come up yet.
Oh yeah, that was during the transition from the layer to the
Okay.
layer, rather.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But yeah, no. So in the transition from the overground to the Loki lair, you see Mjolnir with a tiny little Thor in a bottle. And then some other Easter eggs that we missed, just because they're more prominent ones that you can probably spot easier, are Yellow Jacket's helmet. And it's really interesting to think of like why some of these things are here.
Yeah.
Like the Yellow Jacket helmet could possibly be from if Yellow Jacket was able to.
Yeah, if Yellow Jacket like he landed that Thomas the Tank Engine actually ran over Ant-Man.
Yeah. And just things like that. I believe there was also there was the Thanos copter, which who knows why that's here.
I don't know. It's still hard to think about. Think of this big, giant CGI juggernaut trying to get inside of this tiny ass cockpit of a helicopter.
Yes, and the Thanos copter is actually a thing from the comics.
I hate comic books.
It was actually Thanos' way of travel.
Bruh. What if in the MCU, Thanos rolls up in the Thanos copter up to Red Skull saying, I'm here to throw my daughter off the cliff.
No, okay. So I don't remember if I ever told this to you, but back after Infinity War came out, in that year gap between Infinity War and Endgame, a petition came out. A petition was made to get the Thanos copter in Endgame.
I do remember this.
And that petition, I actually did sign it. And that petition, I think by the end of it, had like, I want to say over 500,000 signatures.
Whoa.
Like it had a lot of signatures on it of people wanting the Thanos copter to be an Endgame. And then we never got it. And I was like, they're probably never going to do the Thanos copter. Like I legit believe that Marvel was never going to put the Thanos copter in the MCU. And now here we are.
Here we are.
Season 1, episode 5 of Loki. Boom, Thanos copter.
Thanos copter.
So yeah, it's time for the final battle against Goliath. And how they decide to do it is really interesting. This climax.
So, yeah. What about it?
It's a very nice climax. I love this scene. But before the big fight, I'm putting that in kind of in quotations too. Before the big fight against Goliath, they all discuss where all they're gonna go. Mobius time jumps his way out of there to get back to the TVA, with Kid Loki and Classic saying that they're going to stay in the Void because that's their home now. They accept it as their home. Same with Gator. With Loki and Sylvie staying in the Void to fight Goliath and find out who's controlling everything. So yeah.
Yeah, so they go with Sylvie's plan of attack was to enchant the Goliath.
So Kid gives Loki his little dagger thing, his little dagger. And so Sylvie and Loki march their way onwards to go fight Goliath. As Kid, Gator, and Classic walk off, and Mobius time jumps. So then we get this amazing. Oh, before the fight, the Mobius and Loki hug. Big bro moment.
Yes.
And I love that Mobius even whispered to Sylvie, "You're my favorite."
Not just that, but after the moment where Loki said, "You're my best friend."
It's oh man, I love.
Yeah, it is nice to see that Loki. I suppose after all these years, seeing this is a 2012 Loki and never got along with his brother, he had someone to finally call a friend, and then his friend backstabs him.
Yeah. And so something that they try to do is they try to wait for a branch to appear, like something to appear so that Eliath gets distracted. That way they can enchant it.
Well, like again, we don't know what that device from earlier was.
We really don't.
Yeah. Help! Help!
Oh wow! I've just noticed that in the scene where Classic looks back towards Eliath as they're walking away, in the background you can see a crashed helicarrier.
Oh really? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, look at that. We're even still catching Easter eggs.
The timeline where Loki destroyed the hell. Wait a minute. Oh no. Maybe that was President.
Maybe. Who knows? And so, yeah, we get our fight scene against Eliath, which this moment is very anticlimactic. It's just Loki with a dagger on fire going, "Hey, attack me!" And then Sylvie's like, "Let me just touch this smoke real quick."
Right. Okay, so a little bit explained to do with that one. So remember the U.S. battleship that came earlier. They had done a hypothesis, and it turned out that whatever the bigger the object is, or I guess a bigger distraction in the case, that's what Elias will go after. And so Loki was trying to get the Elias attention with the flame dagger away from Sylvie, so the Elias wouldn't eat up Sylvie, and it would go after something else while Sylvie does her thing.
Yep. But then as soon as Eliath noticed that Sylvie was trying to enchant it, that's when it got distracted him back on Sylvie because, getting enchanted, guy with fire sword. What's more important here?
Right. Find your priorities, Eliath.
So after Loki trying to distract it doesn't fully work to the intent that they wanted it to. We then see a giant green glow come off from the side. And this is my favorite part of this entire episode, maybe even of the entire series so far. But we see Classic using all of his power, all of his energy to literally recreate Asgard in its entirety here in the void. Mm-hmm.
You're wondering why they didn't fight over that throne instead of the candy cane throne.
And Sylvie and Loki even have this realization that their power could even be expanded more than they think because they're seeing this happen. Because if they're all the same, then they all have the same power quantity. They just haven't fully unlocked it yet.
Right, which is where Sylvie gets the idea of Loki, my not boyfriend yet. You can do it too, but I can't. We're the same though. Oh, yes, I can.
Yeah. And so after some trial and error, after a lot of believing in oneself, and Eliath attacking Asgard, Loki tries to help Sylvie enchant it. And at first, and for a lot of time, he has some trouble with it. He just isn't able to do it until eventually he is. Because true love.
Oh, the power of true love. Yeah.
It's Marvel owned by Disney. What did you expect? Again, now this actually almost brought a tear to my eye. Seeing Classic die. Because Classic, again, Eliath tearing away his illusion is just bringing his energy down. And again, it's Classic. He's old, And so Classic just faces Eliath and just accepts his fate and just lets it take him. He stands up and doesn't even try. He does conjure a little bit of magic just to face Alioth, but in the end, Alioth takes him. And his last words, glorious purpose. But yeah, Sylvie and Loki are able to enchant Alioth, and then Alioth smokes, his smoke just parts, and then we see Dracula's castle. Which even I was kind of like, what is this supposed to be?
It's Castlevania!
This castle is a creature of chaos. It may take many incarnations.
Alrighty, well, that was Season 1, Episode 5, Journey into Mystery.
Oh, that's what I don't think I wrote the title down at all.
Yeah. No end credit scene this time, folks.
Nope, no post-credit scene this time. They're just, the ending is Dracula's castle. So, geez, what now? We only got one more episode left. Like this series came, and now it's almost over. So what do you think? What do you think will be the at least the season finale predictions that you have? Yes.
All that I have right now is just wanting King the Conqueror to be the villain.
Still hanging on that bottom rung of the ladder.
I am hanging on to that final thread as hard as I can.
Oh man, I
know that if I'm wrong, you're gonna just tease me for it, but I don't care.
I mean, who knows? We sort of got like a model of Kang in the MCU already. It's just that it turned out to be wrong.
And so, I mean, like, I'm really hanging on to it that it might be Kang, or maybe even, like, a version of Kang, because there have been many versions of Kang.
I see. Maybe there are variants of Kang? The robots were variants! I
swear, if they do, like, a cop-out move and make it, like, a variant of Loki or something,
yeah.
Because, I mean, that is a possibility. It is a possibility that it could just be like a Loki variant. And if it is, then I'm just going to be like, there are way too many Lokis in this show. I know the show is called Loki, but damn.
I think most of them, like President and all the other ones who stormed the throne room, are really just done for the laughs of the, tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
They're really just done for the sake of that. But I doubt that like a mastermind variant of Loki was the one who created the timeline, the sacred timeline, and just have it. No, I don't think any version of Loki is sophisticated enough to do something like that.
It's Stan Lee.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, you never know. Man, all those variants of Stan Lee throughout the MCU. Where is the TVA about that?
Honestly. But yeah, no, I'm just really hanging on to that thread of it being Kang. Because I mean, because unlike Mephisto, there's nothing saying that there's nothing preventing them from using Kang. In this show, and I mean, like, there's a lot of like references and reasoning behind Kang being the creator of everything, and so all the evidence, again, I mean, like Mephisto, all the evidence is pointing one way, but who knows? They could just pull a 180. We'll find out next week.
Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah, I see.
What about you? What are your predictions?
Jonathan, you're banging my daughter. Gee, I don't know. Given I actually still don't know if Loki is going to get a second season or not, seeing as like the website that had quote confirmed that there would be just sort of like shadow deleted it. So I'm not sure now if this will be a season or a series finale. So if we're gonna make a prediction, let's grant the premise that it's a season finale, okay? So Loki and Sylvie are going to have this big climax, not that kind, but the big fight kind. Given that the stakes are super high, as to find out what exactly is the answer behind the whole TVA creation, and trying to figure out like this question over choice and I forgot how you phrase it, choice and eternal fate.
Fate versus free will.
Fate versus free will, thank you. Trying to figure that out, but leaving some loose ends to be tied up at the very end so they have something to do with a second season. Like I said earlier, if they had left all those Nexus events where Sylvie bombed the sacred timeline, if they hadn't fixed those things off screen, that would be perfect material for a second season. Just Loki, Sylvie, and Mobius teaming up as a trio to fix the timeline and all that. But then let's put it into the question if there were to be a series finale. If it were a series finale, something tragic is going to happen to Loki and Sylvie. Just something like that is going to happen. Like, I'm pretty sure that either way, they would figure out the mystery behind the whole TVA origins and the beginning of time and what the sacred timeline really means and all that. It just doesn't explain what exactly will happen with the sacred timeline after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, given the series finale route, something tragic is going to happen. Sylvie might die. Loki might die again. Something bad will happen, I guess. I don't really have anything else to go off from that. So those are my predictions for what the series finale will entail. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. Do you have anything else to say before we conclude today?
No. I think that sums it all up.
Alrighty then. So, this has been episode 5. Next week is the climax, what everything will all lead up to. Episode 6 of Loki, season 1, at least, we think. So, we'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel, rather. You don't have a channel. Our channel, so you can keep up to date with all of our Loki season 1 review and synopsis podcasts. And make sure to watch Loki streaming every Wednesday on Disney Plus. But that'll be ending next week.
Yep.
Yeah, make sure you watch that before you come and tune into our coverage, so you are not lost in the dark about what the hell we are talking about within these shows. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night and take care.
Bye.
Thanks for visiting the TVA. Don't hesitate to let us know how we're doing.